She's back.
If it isn't the hairless harpy.
It's her, Asajj Ventress.
Okay, ever since the trailer dropped for Season 3 of The Bad Batch, Star Wars nerds have known Asajj Ventress is coming back. And that's pretty exciting and pretty confusing because supposedly she died. But, let's not be too picky here. Star Wars is based on the idea of thinking people are dead and they came back somehow.
He's alive, Obi-Wan. Anakin Skywalker is alive.
No one's ever really gone.
If you're still a Star Wars fan at this point, you've made peace with the fact that people come back from the grave regularly. So move on and enjoy what there is. And this finally has happened. Season 3 of The Bad Batch, Episode 9, The Harbinger, has the return of Asajj Ventress, a character Star Wars fans know from many different mediums. But maybe you don't. So let's break it down. Like so many prequel-era characters, Ventress was derived from a piece of discarded concept art that was supposed to be one of the villain ideas for Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, that eventually became Count Dooku. And under George Lucas, they don't tend to throw things away, they tend to find places to use them. With Ventress, they didn't have to wait long. A couple years later, she showed up in Genndy Tartakovsky's Star Wars The Clone Wars micro-series, now available on Disney+, with her 2 curved lightsabers, kicking all kinds of butt. And in the years that followed, she showed up as a regular villain in the comics depicting the Clone Wars before, everything was reset and they actually began making the Clone Wars as a animated series. And say what you will about Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated feature, it was not the strongest Star Wars offering ever, but Ventress made a hell of an entrance.
The pleasure's all mine, my dear Obi-Wan. I've missed you.
So sit back and relax as I explain the entire life story of Asajj Ventress in her 2 canon timelines, from her humble birth as a Night Sister of Dathomir to her childhood as a slave to her apprenticeship to... Okay, there's 8 seasons of Clone Wars alone. This is a lot to explain.
Misplay. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Sounds like a plan. So here, how do I condense this into the fastest version possible? Let's try this.
You are strong with the Force, Noah. I will teach you the ways of the dark side, but you must prove yourself first.
Now, you shall die.
She is one of us, You have returned. He is already dead. No one remains. This is all my fault. Where do I go? What do I do? No! Wait! You can't leave me here! I'm not much of a talker.
Compliments of the lizard in the back.
Leave me alone! Tell me what's happened!
So when the Clone Wars ended, they ended before finishing many of the storylines they intended to get around to. One of which was a multiple episode story arc involving Asajj Ventress and her quasi-redemption and ultimately her death. Since it couldn't be released on screen, this story was released as the novel Dark Disciple by Christie Golden, a novel that tied Asajj Ventress to another old Legends character, now made canon again in animation, Quinlan Vos, a character that some of my close personal friends find personally irritating.
Well, that's your opinion, man.
The story basically goes around Quinlan Vos being assigned to assassinate Count Dooku and enlisting Asajj Ventress as Dooku's former apprentice to teach him how to get close to the Count, how to use the dark side. And along the way, they fall in love and make sweet, sweet Jedi love, or whatever it is that they do. And Quinlan falls to the dark side, and Asajj eventually sacrifices her own life in order to bring him back at the last minute. This novel is considered canon. So if she's dead, how is she back?
That's what I'd like to know.
Well, I watched the episode, and the answer is, hell if I know, man. The person you can thank or blame, depending on how you feel about recent Star Wars developments, is this man here, Dave Filoni, former apprentice of George Lucas himself, and now the creative director of Lucasfilm.
How that singular focus will reshape our galaxy.
Filoni has been producing some of the best and most creative Star Wars in years, and part of that has been tying up loose ends and reconnecting old bits of legends into the new canon to make things stick. For example, Quinlan Vos got brought back in the recent Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
What does it say?
Quinlan was here.
Okay, brought back is a stretch, but he was mentioned. And Asajj is definitely back in the newest episode of The Bad Batch, kicking her usual amounts of butt, but with a bit of a nicer, softer edge to her.
No cheating.
And with hair, might I add. So she's back, and we don't know how. For now, at least. We might know in the future, we might not. We might have to just deal with little breadcrumbs we've been given in the past. I mean, she did die on Dathomir, a world traditionally steeped in dark magics.
After all, death and resurrection are common deceptions played out by both Night Sister and Jedi.
So we don't know how exactly she survived or returned, but maybe if we stick around long enough, we'll be given some details.
Rise, Maul, reborn son of Dathomir.
Or maybe we won't.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Explanation, no explanation, good explanation, lazy explanation. Either way, if I'm being honest, I'm here for it. I'm a Star Wars fan through and through, and I'm going to stick around. I am interested to see where they take her story. I mean, she's not a Sith apprentice. She's not just a bounty hunter anymore. She uses the Force. She's not devoted to the dark side. What does that make her? I tell you what that doesn't make her, and that's a gray Jedi, because gray Jedi aren't a thing.
Gray Jedi are basically some video game fan fiction made up non-canon bullcrap that doesn't make any sense. I mean, how can you be a gray Jedi? If you're a Jedi, you serve the light side of the Force. That's what being a Jedi means. If you don't do that, you're not a Jedi. You're something else. Maybe you're a Sith. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're some kind of independent Force user. Maybe you're just a freaking pink elephant. I don't know, but you're not a gray Jedi. There's no color-coded Jedi. Just freaking stop with the gray Jedi already.
Besides, she's not a Jedi at all, so... Okay, end rant. But, hey, speaking of gray...
Hand over the relic, now!
Oh, you mean this? I know your precious Supreme Leader won't be pleased when you come back empty-handed.
Mika Gray is a character from Star Wars Resistance, an entirely separate animated show set 50 years after the death and return of Asajj Ventress. Notice anything similar here? Certain markings? Certain personality? Anything?
I've been looking for this relic for 2.5 years. I finally find it and end up destroying it.
Mika Gray basically plays the role of a geriatric Force-sensitive Lara Croft. And yes, she is Force-sensitive. That's not a coincidence either. The fact is, Dave Filoni has stated that Mika Gray was originally intended to be an elderly Asajj Ventress in this show. They changed it at the last minute because she thought that would have taken too much of the spotlight away from other characters they were trying to develop. So, in my headcanon, Asajj has been back for a while. I say Mika is Asajj. Don't roll your eyes at me. It's not the weirdest thing you've ever heard in Star Wars. I mean, it's a different name and all, but Gray? I mean, come on. If you're going to assume a new name, you could get a little weirder than that. There's other characters in Star Wars who've just made up new names for themselves, right?
Rey Skywalker.
Yeah, if I still love Star Wars after that, they're not going to scare me away now. So, welcome back, Asajj. I am eager to see where the story goes, what they do with her. Maybe we'll get some more Dark Time story. Maybe her and Quinlan are still a thing. Maybe they're working with a hidden path. Who knows? Who the heck knows? But I'm eager to find out. In the meantime, do the thing, like or subscribe or whatever. Or don't.